Hey folks, welcome back. It's Rudy, Alpha Investments. So yes, folks, it's that time. This is probably the fifth Q&A I've done in maybe 4 years. Not really a lot of them. I try to do them. Usually they come out maybe 6 months to a year or something like that. But again, I want to thank everybody, 250,000 subscribers. This Q&A is probably going to be my favorite one out of all the Q&As we've ever done in the past. The questions are different. They're unique. The ones that were upvoted that everybody really wanted to hear about were just a lot of actually interesting, unique, just good questions. Not just like, hey, Rudy, what's your favorite, set of Magic? Which one do you think will do the best in bed? Like some of these are really good questions. And I can definitely tell the tone of the questions were very different than the past. So we're going to jump into this. Probably going to be at least probably a 2-part series because each video is probably going to be like 30 minutes to an hour long. I'm going to take my time. I like to kind of just sit. A lot of people like to have these videos and just kind of really let them run and talk and really kind of just let it be. So I don't like rushing these. So here we go. Rudy, most popular comment. Rudy, been with you almost your entire YouTube journey, and you have stated multiple times that you have an end game. This is also carried you saying that you don't see yourself doing this in the long period of time and the workload and the pure amount of hours that you require to run your cardboard empire. Would you elaborate on what your end game is, or how many more years in your channel, the Patreon, the Magic, shipping things, and all the stores and the videos? And okay, really good question. That's probably the most common thing people have been kind of swirling about and wanting more information on. So first things first, I'm going to come right out and say it for those of you watching at the beginning, which is most people. Nobody to this date has really figured out what my end game is. There's a couple people that probably kind of have an idea because they're aware of some other things I'm involved in. But let's put it this way. It is tied to real estate. And the only hint I'm willing to give out is if you go to Google, type in bank statement loan. That's all I have to say. That's kind of a really large component of something I'm working on for my future. So as far as the end game goes, yes, eventually, most likely, I mean, I'm not going to be 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, still doing like the 60 to 80 hour to 90 hour weeks, depending if it's a release week or a shipping week or truckloads of mail. And of course, I usually do I'd say I do about 2 to 3 hours a day of just Patreon message replying. And probably about, I'd say a couple hours a day for the video filming. 2 hours a day for eBay. That's already 6 hours a day. I would say a couple hours at the store. I would say a couple hours just auditing, shipping labels, printing, packing. So you're already probably about what, maybe 9, 10 hours a day. That's a majority of it. And of course, in between then, if I have a pallet or something coming to one of the locations, if it's showing up at, the office, the card store, a warehouse type, if I have a big pallet showing up, I have to be there to audit, count, make sure there's no damage. Forklift people, they plow into a box and I got to deal with the credit and exchange, So whenever there's mail, like a large shipments that come in going or release weeks, I always have to be there to audit to make sure. Anyone who owns a store long term, you have to audit large, or actually almost all orders that come from even distributors. There are 1 or 2 distributors that are known to make a lot of mistakes. Almost every order, they'll short you, they'll give you extra, they'll send you damage, they'll swap it. There's 1 or 2 out of the 5 or 6 major distributors out there that really do, they're a little sloppy. And it's not the company, it's just like some of the warehouse workers that they deal with. So you have to be on top of that quite a bit. And that takes quite a bit of time, especially if a freight driver says, hey, I'm going to be there in 30 minutes. I got to make sure I'm at that location. And then that could be 1 to 2 hours right there, depending on weather. And, I don't have a loading dock and like a lift gate type thing, like a big, where you back like an 18-wheeler up and it kind of has a truck loading bay. I don't have that. Shopping centers and office complexes don't have that. So, they lower it on the ground and you have to deal with it from the parking lot, count, audit, and move the product. So it's a pain. Anyways, So as far as the end game goes, as people pretty much are aware of, I mean, I've made it pretty clear that in like 4 or 5 years from now, I'm probably gonna start throttling things back, just because when you get older, I really want to spend more time with friends and family. I like to go and do some things, travel some. I mean, I don't do anything. I don't have vacations. I don't travel. And to some other questions coming, yeah, it makes it difficult sometimes with family things, and Lindsay, my other half, and my own parents and family and events, or family vacation or cruises or theme parks or whatever you may want to do. So it definitely can add some personal life pressure. But the thing is, if you go anything from an Elon Musk to a Steve Jobs to a Jeff Bezos or anyone's historical past, I mean, anyone who becomes an entrepreneur and builds a business, they run into personal life problems. So you can't have it all in this world. That's something that you have to really just do the best you can and hope you're with a significant other that is on board and understands what the long term and the grand scheme and the purpose of everything is. Otherwise, you're just not going to see eye to eye, and most likely long term, it's just not going to work out. So, unfortunately, that is the nasty truth of it. Hate to say it that way, but yeah. So as far as everything goes, and like everything, if I stop like with the Patreon account, with a lot of people that buy boxes and everything, because my Patreon account's kind of divided up on different groups of people. Some people buy every month. Some people max out the buying every month. Other people just buy one box a month just because. And there's other people that they're not interested in buying Magic. They just like to discuss finance, business, and credit cards and banking. And, Rudy, I'm thinking about putting $1,000 a month into Magic here, but should I do that, or should I, pay off A, B, or C, or a real estate, or, a lot of the questions are also more in that direction. So not all the patrons are strictly just there for product purchasing. Actually, a big chunk of them strictly just like the financial discussion aspect privately, one-on-one, because it's really tough to have that. And a lot of people out there are in parts of the country, parts of the world, and are in families that, talking about money or finance or credit is a very taboo subject. I know it's 2019, but there are a lot of people out there that they're either embarrassed, or it's just a conversation that, there's families you just don't talk about. Everybody just pretends like everything's fine. And next thing you know, all of a sudden you come home and your family, and one person says, by the way, the house is in foreclosure, and everybody freaks out because no one's ever talked about this stuff and nobody knew it was coming. And those are very sad stories. So a lot of people like to discuss that kind of personal finance with me, even though I'm not a licensed advisor professional. They just want someone to talk to, and just sometimes just someone to talk to, even if you're not a professional advisor, is just important, just to be able to talk to somebody. And in 2019, of the era of social media, in this, I don't know, everybody's connected by social media and more than ever before. The ironic part is most people don't really have anyone to talk to more than ever before. The concept of social media has actually made most people less social because the relationships aren't really good relationships. So anyways, as far as the end game goes there, as far as the product and everything goes, I don't have a firm end game, but as far as the sealed product and the reserve list stuff and all this stuff, I always sell a little bit. I like to run sales and variety packs with patrons, and, just give people a little discount below market, nothing exotic to create like a frenzy and people fight and get angry, but, and I like to sell and do little things like that. But overall, I really don't focus on that in the short term, because I've never really had a goal in mind that I wanted to, I guess, just sell everything out. People, for some reason, everybody looks at like Magic, from my perspective, as a way like the stock market. Rudy, when's the day you're just going to click the button? You want to sell everything. And it really doesn't work that way. That's really not what it's never really been my plan. I mean, because people say all the time, Rudy, if you have 500 boxes of original Innistrad, I think I have about 411 boxes of original Innistrad. And people say, okay, Rudy, if you want to sell those 411 original boxes of Innistrad, I have a cost basis of about $115 a box, because I bought them slightly after they went out of print. And people say, well, Rudy, you can't just dump them all. And I said, well, there's a couple of choices I can personally do. I can sell, one box per week or per month on eBay, and I can make sure I'm the cheapest. I can run a sale to patrons. So if the box is $450 a box, I don't know what they are now, I can say, all right, everybody gets $50 off a box, and I can just unload the whole position if that's what I want to do, which I'm really not a big fan of that direction. because I don't like to wipe out things like that, because I still like and enjoy the product. I like to do future box openings. I like to just, every once in a while in the future, if I'm retired, I'd like to go back to playing more Magic. I really miss it, especially doing drafts of like an Innistrad. Like if you haven't done an original Innistrad draft with your friends on like a Friday night at someone's house with like 4 people, I mean, it's a really fun experience. You get some drinks going, everyone's having a good time. Even if it's a couple, 2 guys, 2 girls, and like a couples match, it's just a lot of fun. And but overall, people look at it very 2-dimensional. For me, I look at it like this. If I say, okay, I'm done, I'm never making another video, I'm gonna hide underground in my parents' 17th floor basement with only goldfish, with 14 this and that, I would look at it more as this way. If I have 20 vintage sets, Scars, Besiege, Innistrad, Avacyn, Dark Ascension, Core 12, Core 13, Core 14, I don't know, Mirage, whatever. My goal would be more to sell 1 box of each set per month. And that's very easy to do. It's not hard to do. For example, if a box of Weatherlight is $550 to $600, if I put 1 box of Weatherlight each month on eBay for, the cheapest price minus $20, most likely it's probably going to sell on average about once a month. And if you do that with 20 different boxes a month, you can sell, 1 of every set. You bring in 20 transactions a month at, a couple $100 a piece. You bring in a lot of money. So that would be more of my approach. So it takes, 5, 10 years to sell out a position, because you're kind of slowly pulling from everything. You're not going to have any market impact because it's very slow. And over a 5, 10 year period, it's so slow, no one's even going to notice unless you literally know who I am or you watch the old videos type thing. And, but as far as Endgame, like I said, the transactions, the PayPal, the business and everything, the purpose of selling high volumes of product, everything has a purpose. No one's really ever figured out the exact thing besides the hint I gave at the beginning of this video. That might help a few people to get the hint of what I'm doing outside of Magic. And yeah, that's pretty much about it for that conversation. And again, we're talking years away, but yes, eventually I'd like to, go back to, I'd like to actually get in better shape. I always wanted to go to the gym and do time and that stuff. I like to swim more. I like to have a nice big pool and do swimming and have fun like that. And then, of course, go to the beach, but more of a pool and just like exercise and stuff like that more, and be out and about more outside. I actually always wanted to do that quite a bit, but when you work a lot and have a tight schedule, you cannot devote time to more of those type of personal things. So that's about it for that topic. I think that gives people some good clarity. Next question. Rudy, would you consider naming a future child or children of yours Timmy? Actually, no. My son now is named from I have a son now, for those of you who didn't know. Everybody always freaks out. Rudy has a kid? What? He's 4.5. He's flipping amazing. He's always helping to move boxes, and he's very infatuated with the boxes and things he sees when he gets moved, when he comes and visits at different locations and all that. He's always fascinated with these boxes everywhere. His name is Michael, which is my middle name. And then, of course, if I have another son or something, I'd probably use, Rudy as the first name or something. Or I'm already a junior, but I don't think I would name Timmy just out of, I don't know, I feel like he would be angry at me when he got older. But it'd be funny, though. Let's see here. Rudy, question for your lovely wife. Technically, we're not married. What does your fiance think of your hobbies? I've been with the same woman for, oh my goodness, now. Oh, if I get this wrong, she's going to kill me. 8 to 9 years. We're going to go with 9 years. We're going to round up for safety reasons. I've been with the same person for a very long time. I don't have a lot of crazy volatile stories. I'm not a young crazy person going, I don't do all that stuff like my college young days. I'm old now. I'm 35. I don't do that kind of stuff. I'm a very calm, low risk guy. I don't take a lot of risk and do a lot of crazy things in life anymore. What does she think about it? Obviously, when I first met her years ago, I didn't really meet her and everything. Well, actually, when I ran into her the second time, I met her originally like 15 years ago, but when I ran into her again years later, that was when I was working at the brokerage firm on like a company outing. I didn't say, hey, by the way, I'm into Magic cards and I'm investing. She didn't know about that at all. I don't even know if she ever heard of Magic the Gathering before me. I think she may have heard of the cards, but I don't know. Maybe she's not. Now that I think about that. But no, I didn't really bring it up. When we were dating, everything she saw at that time, in my early mid 20s, I was still living at home with family, and because I was saving money, and because that leads to the next question. A lot of people are going to ask me was the Rudy, which is actually the very next question about the money. How on earth were you? Did you do shady things? Were you inheritance from like a rich trust fund baby? You know, I'm gonna get into that in a second. I'll explain how my history and all that is. But anyway, she didn't really know. But I remember when she started coming over and hanging out with me and Netflixing and chilling, and we'd get off work and we'd hang out together and everything. And she'd come over and we would Netflix and chill. And that funny term, that term didn't exist back then. But when we used to spend a lot of evenings together and all that, she would see in my room. And again, I still lived in, like I said, with family, so I didn't have my own house or anything at the time. Actually, when we ran into each other again, at that point in my life, I think she actually saw the blueprints, because I had just paid a couple $1,000s and I was designing my own house to move out with family. So I didn't like to tell people about that when I was dating with people. I didn't want people to judge, like, oh, wait a minute, he has money or doesn't have money. I don't like to disclose that, which is where the joke and the meme that I live in my parents' basement came from. I never really liked to, when I was single or younger or dating and I meet new people, I don't like to disclose and tell people what I have or don't have. So I usually would downplay it. You know, I would drive my dad's older silver truck, is usually what I drive on a daily basis. I don't drive anything fancy. That's where the meme came from, that, oh, I just live at home in my parents' basement, which is, then everybody would always say, oh, Rudy, you live in Florida, there are no basements. And that's where the joke was born years ago. And of course, I don't like, I don't want to meet new people and be like, oh yeah, hey, I'm building a house, I never really like to tell people that, because I didn't want their perception of me to change when I was younger. Of course, this was pre-YouTube, pre-Alpha Investments. So she didn't know about the magic cards. She didn't know about it at all. She was kind of very, when she saw it, she was just kind of, I think, you guys are going to love this. I think some of the first magic cards she saw, I know this is going to be hilarious. I think I was sorting them, and I think we had a guest bathroom that wasn't used in my parents' home. Like, there was a bathroom that wasn't used, and there was a big counter. So I just started buying graded PSA cards, PSA 10s, Alpha Beta back at the time. And so I had them laid out on this long bathroom counter. Like, you'd have the shower, the toilet, and the sink over here, and there's this long counter in the other direction. There was no water or anything. And I was organizing all my graded cards. And I think she went to the bathroom, she went to the guest bathroom or something, and she saw a bunch of graded, and of course she was like, what is this? So I had these cards like in the bathroom on the counter. And I think I remember her picking up a couple. She kind of walked across the house. She was like, it was like in the afternoon or something. She was like, and I think she held up, I swear it was maybe like a PSA 10 Unlimited, like, I think it was like a time twister. And she was like, what is this card? The art is kind of crazy. It's in this case. And is it 10? I mean, there's 10 of them? Or is it the like, and she held it up. I was like, oh, it's called PSA 10 Unlimited Time Twister or something. And I just got it from a deal I did with somebody on, I don't know if it was eBay or Yahoo Auctions. I don't know where it was from in 2000. No, wait, by then that was eBay. Yahoo Auctions was way before that. That was when I first started. So in eBay. And I said, I just bought that card. It was a PSA 10 Limited Time Twister. I was like, look, I just bought it for like $375. And she was like, you spent almost $400 on this magic card? And I remember her, like, the voice elevated, like the eyes popped out. And I was like, I think I said something sarcastic, like Rudy, like, it's like, well, that's like the Louis Vuitton of magic cards. Yeah, I said something stupid, And she was just like kind of freaked out, like, why would you spend $400 on this PSA 10 Unlimited Time Twister? Who would spend that much on a magic? It was hilarious. I remember things like that, and it was quite humorous. It was good, everybody. And I think there was like another one she looked at was like, I pointed to like I think it was a Mishra's Workshop PSA 10, and I think I paid, it was $250, and she was like, so these two cards were like $600-700, and she was like, yeah, I could tell a little eye roll action, like, oh my god, I don't think I should, like, there was some moments, it was funny. Anyways, but I didn't talk about it much. And then, and again, I didn't have, warehouses and stores and retail locations. I didn't own an office location or anything for paperwork. I didn't have, none of this stuff was going on back then. There was no YouTube channel. There was no Patreon. Actually, AdSense and YouTube and commercials and Patreon. None of this existed back then, everybody. This was years ago. It really wasn't a thing. So, anyways, I thought you guys would appreciate that. So this leads to the next question, which is probably one of the most asked for, commonly confused, misconstrued questions out there. And that leads to the next question. Rudy, you recently did a video about you invested like 500 grand in your mid-20s and you bought a tribal Indian casino bond on the secondary market on Wall Street. How on earth did you get that kind of money at age 26? Was it 26, 25, 26, maybe 27, some mid-20s? Honestly, how did you get that? Did you get an inheritance? Trust fund baby? Did you do shady dealings, or did you honestly just legitimately work hard over time? The honest truth of that is, number one, no, I don't have a trust fund. I'm not a trust fund baby. My family does watch this. I think my parents do. I'm the first person in my entire family to actually go to college. College was okay. I had some good moments and some kind of moments. Had some amazing professors and some crappy ones. You have to understand, my parents and my family didn't even really graduate high school. I didn't come from an inheritance rich family. Again, restaurant. Remember I told you guys about restaurants and everything? My family I took over was a food related business. And, we didn't, there was no Ivy Leagues and colleges and PhDs and not even associate's degrees and bachelor's. That's not the family I was raised in. My parents worked very, very hard. 10, 12-hour days, long, anyone out there who's worked restaurants, double shifts, lunch, dinner, Sunday, breakfast, lunch, if it's a breakfast diner thing, anyone out there who knows what it's like to work in or own a restaurant, you understand it completely what I'm already talking about. If you've never done it for at least a couple months, you don't understand. I'm sorry. I highly recommend every person who exists, who's interested in people, money, interested in people, money, business, entrepreneurship, long-term anything, and just a strong work ethic and understanding life, money, and the value of your time and working hard. I highly recommend. I personally, I almost think like a high school prerequisite or a college prerequisite should be a minimum of 3 or 6 months straight working full-time in a restaurant. No joke. The skills, the people, the culture, the internal politics between the restaurants and the shifts and the sections and the tips. You will learn so much that will carry through to the rest of your life. It's priceless. More than anything can pay. And again, side note, I really appreciate, the amount of people who send me messages saying, I've learned more from this hilarious, goofy taco magic guy on YouTube than I have in college. I wish I did this years ago or watched Rudy in high school, or, the amount, I know, no joke, I appreciate the amazing feedback. I know I don't reply to over half of it because it's just too much, but I read them, I see it. And I thank you all for the positive messages and feedback. And there's just so many people out there of just send me the messages of, Rudy, you have no idea how many people you've brought to Magic. I know you're like the outcast of Magic and Wizards, but between the amount of people you've brought into Magic, it's astonishing. The amount of people who've taken good advice financially and conservative and not just investing in Magic, but just as far as life approach and jobs and working hard has been huge. So that is amazing. That has a huge value to me. So anyways, back to the shady dealings in here. So no, I did not have a trust fund. I haven't inherited anything. Actually, many times in my life, I've had to borrow money from my parents, especially in my younger days, because I was negative or in between jobs. We kept a little tally on the refrigerator where every week, if I had to borrow $100, $300, I think the worst I was negative $3,000. And then I started paying them back. It took me a year to pay. No, there was no. So obviously that gets the next thing. Rudy, were there shady dealings? It depends on your definition of shady dealings. To me, some of it, I look back at it, was shady dealings, but it wasn't illegal or really morally wrong, but it definitely makes me kind of go, I don't know if that should be legal. When I had certain jobs and certain benefits and certain things, I was I didn't like the way it was. And the last part, legitimate hard work over time. Legitimately, no joke, everybody. Like I told you about 10 minutes ago in this video, I was living at home with family. And I told you, like, my significant other found, like, I had blueprints I was doing for a house because I was doing a new construction. I wanted it built a certain way. And no joke, the reason I was at home doing that was because that was the only way I knew I could get off my feet. I knew for 100% fact if I had moved out at a young age, got an apartment, and started paying in Florida here, I don't know, $1,000 or $1,500 a month rent, or whatever. I mean, back then, this was a long time ago, 10 years ago or something, or 15 years ago, I don't know. I knew 15 years ago, if I was paying rent for like a one bedroom for like $1,000 a month or something, I knew that $12,000 a year over 5-10 years, which would end up being over $100,000 over 10 years, I knew that was going to stunt the growth of any investments, real estate, move, anything I wanted to do in the grand scheme of things. I knew it was my instinct deep down knew if I take this approach, it's going to stunt my growth. So I literally, and again, I have a great relationship with my family. I don't have a big family. It's literally me, mom and dad. I have a couple cousins out there, but I don't have a big family. Straight up, everybody. I'm very envious and jealous many times of people out there who have big families with all these siblings. I just don't have that. But in general, I have an amazing relationship with my family. So me staying at home with family and living at home, I didn't have any problems. We had a great relationship. I worked hard. My parents were proud of me for working hard. Everything was fine. And I know that's a big variable for a lot of you out there who don't have that. So when I was able to stay at home, straight up, everybody, the honest truth. When I was living at home and I started getting a brokerage firm job and I started making $50,000 plus a year, I paid my parents a couple $100s a month just to help them out with utilities and all the water and just food and all that stuff. By just giving them a couple $100s a month, and you start making $50,000, $60,000 a year in a brokerage firm and slinging stocks, bonds, and licensed advisor, all this stuff when I was a real licensed advisor back in the day. All my licenses have expired. I'm not registered in any of the 50 states anymore. I'm not licensed anymore. But at the time, because of that, I was literally, no joke, everybody, I started to save cash about $4,000 a month. So, my cash balance, I was saving very, very quickly. Out of college, my starting pay was like $30,000 a year. And then I started moving to $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 range. And I kind of capped out the 50, 60, 70, 80. I was kind of moving it around there, depending on bonuses and commissions and the revenue from the stock transactions and bonds and the clients and being at the brokerage firm. But overall, I started to save and accumulate a very high rate of speed. I mean, I know most of you out there going, oh my God, if I could save $4 or $5 a month, well, no wonder. Yeah, you're going to build up cash really fast. Then remember, everybody, back then interest rates were higher. I could buy bonds paying 5, 10, 12%. CD rates were 4, 5, 6%. Things were different. So it was easier to get your money to grow pre-2008. So as you guys can see, I was able to accumulate a lot of cash from working, not having car payments, staying at home, and just literally just living a boring, unsexy, crappy, lame life. I didn't buy any cars. I didn't go out and do crazy stuff and party and spend money. I don't smoke. I don't really drink. I don't do any of this stuff. I just accumulated money. I literally went to college, classes, I'd work. College, class, work. And I would work. There was times in the restaurant I'd work literally not 4 or 5 days in a row. I'd work 7 days in a row, 10 days, 12 days in a row. I'd pick up the days off, and I was just money hungry. So, and that was before getting a real job. And then even during the real job, I would just hit the goals, do what I had to do to hit those metrics with the clients, commissions. I mean, I was just bringing in the money. And because I knew I wanted to save it all and do something big. And at that time was to start investing in Magic PSA 10s in 2005. And then, of course, do my blueprint to start doing real estate buy my own first house to move out into in about like 2008, 7, 8, 9-ish. Because I did the blueprints way in advance before the house and all that stuff. But anyways, so that is where the seed money came from. And then after I saved 100, 200,000 type thing, then I started getting good with the credit cards, like you guys know. Then I started using leverage on the credit cards with the 0% on 12, 15, 18 months. I had high credit limits after 10 years. And So I was able to take a couple $100,000 cash, leverage a couple $100,000 on credit cards, 0%. So I was really starting to be able to just swell up that money in my purchasing power to 5, 6, 700,000. So that is how I did it. There was no trust fund, rich. That's unfortunately, no matter what the internet wants to tell you, that's really not how it played out. So unfortunately, I worked so much. I think I did miss out on some fun things in my younger 20s in college. I didn't do really a lot of things I kind of regret a little missing out on, but the reward now I think is worth it. But I do have some things I feel I should have enjoyed more back then. All right, so yeah, I know it's a long video. I know it's crazy. So as far as is this video? How long are we going today? Are we going really long? Is this like an hour-long video? Where are we at? 30 minutes? Yeah, we can keep going today, everybody. No big deal. We can keep it up. So anyway, so yeah, that's how that works. So next question, we're going to shift a little bit. Just basic question. Rudy, everybody wants to know, what's your favorite card, your favorite artwork, your favorite set of Magic? Favorite set in the history of Magic is always going to be Arabian Nights. It's a personal thing because when I was a kid, living in North Florida on the East Coast, we had no Arabian Nights. Honestly, everybody. There was no Legends. There was no Arabian Nights. There was like no Antiquities. We did not get the Four Horsemen set. I remember a few packs of the Dark for sale for like $1.99 or $2.49 a pack. But that was like maybe one time. Pretty much on the East Coast, we had Revised for a little bit, and then everything was 4th edition Ice Age Fallen Empires Chronicles everywhere. So unfortunately, I didn't know about Arabian Nights until I started reading excuse me, hiccups today. I didn't know about Arabian Nights until Inquest, Scry, Duelist, and there's another one. Before the magazines every month that I would run to Books A Million and Barnes & Noble to really see if the new price guide was there. I mean, no joke. I would tell my parents, pull over, let me run in. They'd pull up front, and I'd jump out the back seat. I'd run inside to see if they had a new price guide. Isn't that amazing? I miss that stuff. That was so much fun. And then if they had it, I'd buy it real quick. Give them $5. I'd run out, and I would be in the back seat like, oh my god, this card went up $3. It was some amazing times, everybody. And I really feel bad that a lot of people today aren't going to have those kind of memories and experiences, but it really is something special to people like me and older people out there. I can't explain it. I really can't. So anyways, favorite set is always going to be Arabian Nights for the vintage stuff. And then I have to say, I was a huge fan of 4th edition and Ice Age when I was a kid. The good, bright, vibrant colors and the artwork just really was amazing. Even Fallen Empires was great. It was neat, but it was just garbage. Chronicles I never really liked. I didn't like the white bordered reprints. I just didn't. People back then just didn't like them, so I didn't buy a lot of Chronicles. Everybody, but when Tempest, Stronghold, Exodus, and Weatherlight, the whole Wrath cycle and all that stuff came out, I loved it. There were card companies in the late 90s online, the early days of the internet, and one of the early day internet websites was called Paul and Judy's. Coins and card, Paul and Judy. There was some sort of Paul and Judy's coin card website. And whenever I had birthday money or allowance money, when I was in middle school, high school, I would go on the internet and I'd give my parents money and they would use their credit card. And they would place the order with a credit card. I'd pay them cash. And I would always buy boxes of Tempest and Stronghold and Exodus and have them shipped to the house. And I was buying boxes of Tempest. I think Tempest was like $69.99, giggity, and I think Stronghold was $60 or $80 a box. Yeah, and I was buying those, and I'd buy like a couple boxes of each set, and then they would be shipped to my house. Amazing memories, and I'd get them, and I'd rip all the packs open, sort them on the floor. It was an amazing time, everybody. Absolutely so much fun. I know. People are going, did Rudy just say $60 for a booster box of Tempest? Oh my god, I know. Should have bought hundreds and just sat on them, be billionaire. But anyways, it was good stuff, everybody. As far as favorite artwork, still going to be back in the day. Artwork, I love the original Sarah Angels, all the Arabian Nights, a lot of that Mark Tedin artwork. I mean, the Chris Rush old school artwork. A lot of the old, I like a lot of the weird backgrounds on like the Mox in like Disrupting Scepter, that swirly purple street, crazy looking background. And there were just so many cool artworks. And And I have to say, even like Alliances had a lot of really cool pieces of art, and even 4th edition, which had a lot of reprints. But number one artwork, I don't really have a number one favorite. Because remember when I was younger, I didn't get to, I never got to even see what a lot of these Four Horsemen sets looked like of the Arabian Nights, Legends, Antiquities, Dark, because I didn't have access. I was a kid, I didn't have the money. So no set particular artwork, but favorite card, I don't have a set card. Obviously, people are probably going to say something like Sarah Angel or Earthbind with the Alpha Earthbind, Alpha Sarah Angel, or something like that, Alpha Swords, an original Monovolt, Manavolt. Favorite card actually is not like a Black Lotus or a Mox or a Power 9. For most people, that's actually not most people's favorite card. People today kind of think that's their favorite card because it's worth a lot of money, it's rare. But most people, that's actually, in all the 20-something years I've been doing this, most people don't answer the question of favorite art with like an expensive, powerful card. Usually it's actually a common or a bulk rare is what most people is. For me, believe it or not, there was actually a card in Ice Age called like the Musician, and you put like music counters on like different creatures, and it had like cumulative upkeep. And I used to build decks around that card, and I had a lot of fun. It would just be so much fun to do that stuff, and I would just load up on blue mana to pay the cumulative upkeep. And my neighbors and friends would always just build these creature decks, and I would have this army of musicians putting music counters so that all their creatures would have upkeep costs, and all their creatures would keep dying because they couldn't afford the upkeep. And I'd have like 20 islands in play to pay this cumulative upkeep. It was just fun stuff. And then Exodus, I don't like talking about it much, I don't want to move the price, but Mind Over Matter, a blue Exodus rare. I used to build decks around when I was younger because I love the concept of getting tons of card draw and then just manipulating and tapping and untapping and discarding cards and I love discarding, bringing them back, and manipulating the whole game state of the board, and a lot of fun things like that. I really, really enjoy that stuff, and I really miss playing a lot of different fun things. I'm not a fan of obviously all the net decks, super power. When I've been to Vegas and the events in the past, I got to play Brian Weissman's The Deck from Dan Chang and Vintage Magic with open boosters and Edwin and Tavis and all the guys, and even you out there and everybody else who met me at the moment. But I got to see that, and it was a lot of fun to play The Deck and all these things. But even recently when I went to Orlando and visited some of the guys again, I like to make silly fun decks where people are like, is he playing 4 Obsidious Golems? He's playing 4 Alpha Golems in penny sleeves. Okay. I like to just have fun things, like an all artifact deck, just a silly blue deck, or just, I'm not really a fan of just making I just dominate the deck and this and that. I just like to enjoy it. And I think a lot of people have really lost that nowadays. It's just truly, they've lost sight of that in today's, I'm going to go to F&M and get in the tournaments and Pro Tours and Mythic Championships and GPs. And, and Wizards tries to create this culture of competition and events. And, it really doesn't matter. I don't really care. That's not, to me, what Magic is, So that's my kind of favorite thing. As far as favorite sets, like I said, I love the original Arabian Nights and Antiquities and Legends. Again, I have sentimental connection to 4th edition Ice Age, hated Chronicles and Fallen Empires. Then, of course, when the Wrath Cycle with those Tempest, Stronghold, Exodus, Weatherlight came out, I really refueled my excitement of doing it. And then, of course, when Urza Saga came out, blew my mind. Broken cards, overpowered, loved it. It was so silly and stupid, I loved it. And again, remember everybody, 25 years later, it's 2019. To this day, most of you watching, including myself, most Magic players who love the game, we don't care about the politics. We don't care about social media. We don't care about GPs. We don't care about Mythic Championships and fancy this and that, and who the top players and top 8. We don't care. Because people ask me all the time, Rudy, why don't you do this, that? You guys, you got to be careful. Because the Twitter overlords and the approved people will make you believe that the Magic world is in this little bubble of approved people, and that's really not what most of the Magic community is. They are regular people who love the game, and they really don't want to get involved with all that fugazi, silly stuff. They want to enjoy the game. They want to make friends, and as long as everybody's nice to each other, I don't have a problem with you. And that's something I always want to remind everybody in these videos, because, it can be very distorting to see. People say all the time, Rudy, you have a Twitter account with like 15,000 followers. Like, people would kill to have that, and you don't even use it. I tried to. I told you guys this in the past. But I'd make a tweet, and I'd get 20 replies, and other people would include me in conversations, and I was banned from all these people having me banned and blocked. I couldn't read half conversations. I'd see a string of tweets, and half these Magic people have me blocked. They couldn't read anything anyways. So I just left social media after maybe a couple months, and it just, honestly, I don't miss it at all. Many times I forget. I'll go weeks at a time, and I'll be, oh yeah, I guess I'll look at my Twitter account. Anything weird going on? Oh well. And then like 2 months will go by, and I'll be like, oh yeah, hey look, I gained follower. Like, I just don't even care about it. Because again, Magic is built on the backbone of kitchen table, families and friends all around the world that play together. It's really not built on F&M and GPs and mythics and fancy approved and sponsorships. It's really not about that. But I know the internet will make you think that. So I wanted to kind of bring that to everyone's attention there. So I think it's probably a good place to stop today. Is the camera still going? All right.